There is a unique kind of silence that exists in an empty room. It's not a peaceful silence. It's a waiting silence. It's the sound of potential. I remember standing in the middle of what would become our first office, the floor dusty, the windows grimy, the air thick with the smell of old paint and forgotten dreams. And next to me, as always, was Alex, my best friend since we were kids. He clapped a hand on my shoulder, his grin wide and infectious. "Can you believe it, man?" he'd said, his voice echoing in the emptiness. "This is all ours. We're gonna build an empire right here." I believed him. I believed in us. We weren't just business partners. We were brothers. We had a pact, forged in a treehouse when we were 12, sealed with a handshake that felt more binding than any legal contract. We would always have each other's backs, no matter what. That day, filled with hope and ambition, feels like a lifetime ago. I sometimes try to reach back into that memory, to feel the warmth of that shared dream. But now, all I can feel is the cold, sharp edge of the truth. Because the empire we built, it became a cage. And the brother I trusted, he was the one who held the key, waiting for the perfect moment to lock me inside and throw away the key. This isn't just a story about a business falling apart. This is a story about a friendship shattered into a million pieces. This is about the day I learned that the person who knows you best is also the person who knows exactly how to destroy you. And this is the story of how I picked up every single broken piece and I rebuilt something he never saw coming. It all started with a stupid idea in my parents' garage. I was the idea guy, the dreamer. I'd sketch logos on napkins and talk a mile a minute about branding and vision. Alex was the rock, the pragmatist. Where I saw the stars, he saw the spreadsheet. He was the one who would take my wild, swirling ideas and ground them in reality, who would build the financial models and talk to the suppliers. We were a perfect ecosystem. Ethelgard Designs, we called it. A fancy name for a custom furniture business I came up with after binge-watching a historical documentary. It meant noble protection. I liked the sound of it. It felt strong, trustworthy. For 5 years, that's what we were. We lived on instant noodles and cheap coffee. We pulled all-nighters sanding wood and assembling pieces, our laughter echoing in that cramped garage. I remember one night, around 3 a.m., we were exhausted, covered in sawdust, and we finally finished our first major order, a handcrafted oak dining table. We just stood there looking at it. Alex turned to me, his eyes tired but blazing with pride. "We did it, Leo. We actually did it. That table wasn't just furniture. It was a monument to our partnership. We celebrated with warm soda and a promise that we'd never forget this moment, this feeling. We were building something from nothing. Together. And we did grow. From the garage to that small dusty office I told you about, then to a small workshop. Our client list grew from friends and family to high-end hotels and boutique stores. The money started coming in. Real money. We hired our first employee, then 5, then 20. The chaos of startup life slowly gave way to the structure of a real company. But through it all, the core remained the same. It was Leo and Alex against the world. I handled the creative direction, the client relationships, the soul of Ethelgard. Alex managed the operations, the finances, the bones. We trusted each other implicitly. Or at least, I trusted him. Success changes people. It's a cliché because it's true. The first crack was so small I almost missed it. It was a whisper, really. A subtle shift in the wind. We were in a meeting with a big investor, a guy in a suit that probably cost more than our first year's rent. I was pitching our new sustainable line, talking about the artistry, the story behind each piece. I was in my element, but halfway through, Alex cut me off. Not rudely, but firmly. "What Leo means to say," he interjected, his voice smooth and corporate, "is that the market analytics show a 22% growth in eco-conscious consumer spending. Our pivot here is strategically aligned to capture that demographic." He started throwing around terms like ROI, market saturation, and leveraging assets. The investor was nodding, impressed. I was just silent. It felt like he was speaking a different language, a language I wasn't fluent in. After the meeting, which was a success, I joked about it. "Since when did you become Mr. Corporate Suit?" I asked, punching his arm playfully. He just smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We're not in the garage anymore, Leo. We have to play the game. Play the game." The words stuck with me. This had never been a game to me. It was our life's work. It was our art. But for Alex, it was starting to look like a ladder. And he was ready to climb. Then came the small things. He started hiring people from his MBA program, creating a new layer of management that reported directly to him. He'd schedule important financial meetings on days he knew I was swamped with design deadlines. He'd make unilateral decisions about vendor contracts, explaining it away as an efficiency measure. I let it slide. Every time. This was Alex, my brother. He was just doing what he did best, right? He was being the rock. I told myself I was being paranoid. I was the dreamer after all. Maybe I needed to be more grounded, but the rock I had built my foundation on was beginning to feel more like a wall, and I was on the wrong side of it. The day it happened started like any other. It was a Tuesday. I remember because we had our weekly founders' lunch, a tradition we'd kept since the garage days. I was in a great mood. We'd just landed our biggest client ever, an international hotel chain. It was a project I had personally spearheaded, a design that had poured out of my soul. I was heading to Alex's office to finalize the celebratory lunch spot. I pushed his door open, a joke already on my lips. But he wasn't alone. Our lawyer, Mr. Aldrich, was there, along with a woman I didn't recognize, holding a thick stack of documents. The air in the room was stiff, formal. Alex looked up, and for a fraction of a second I saw it. A flicker of something in his eyes. Panic? Guilt? It was gone before I could name it, replaced by that smooth corporate calm. "Leo, perfect timing," he said, a little too brightly. "We were just reviewing the final paperwork for the Meridian Hotel deal. Just some boring legal stuff. Needs both our signatures." I relaxed. Of course. Big deal, big paperwork. Mr. Aldrich avoided my gaze, shuffling the papers. The woman offered a tight, professional smile. Alex slid a document across the desk to me, his finger pointing to a highlighted line at the bottom. "Right there." "Partner," he said. I reached for my pen. The same engraved pen we'd bought each other when we signed the lease on our first office, a symbol of our partnership. I was about to sign my name, my mind already on the steak I was going to order for lunch, when something made me pause. Maybe it was Mr. Aldrich's nervous energy. Maybe it was the strange woman's intense stare. Or maybe it was that flicker I'd seen in Alex's eyes. My eyes drifted from the signature line up the page. It wasn't the Meridian contract. The header, in small, dense print, read, "Company Restructuring and Ownership Transfer Agreement." My heart didn't just skip a beat. It felt like it stopped entirely. The air left my lungs. I started reading, my eyes scanning the legalese, picking out phrases that felt like physical blows. Transfer of all intellectual property rights, including the Ethelgard brand and associated designs, to Alexander Carter. Leo Maxwell shall be transitioned to a consultant role, with no equity or decision-making authority. Upon signature, Leo Maxwell agrees to a non-compete clause spanning 5 years. The words blurred on the page. This wasn't a contract for a client. This was a contract for my own execution. He wasn't just pushing me out. He was erasing me. Erasing my name, my designs, my very soul from the company we built. He was taking everything. I looked up at Alex, my vision clearing. His face was a mask of calm expectation. There was no friendship there, no brotherhood. There was only the cold, hard calculation of a businessman closing a deal. "What is this, Alex?" My voice was a whisper, ragged and broken. His mask didn't slip. "It's what's best for the company's future, Leo. Sign the paper." In that moment, the foundation of my entire world crumbled into dust. The treehouse pack, the garage, the sawdust, the warm soda, it all evaporated, leaving nothing but the chilling reality of his betrayal. My best friend, the man I would have trusted with my life, had just handed me my death sentence, and he was asking me to sign it willingly. I didn't sign. I don't even remember what I said. I think I just turned and walked out, the document still lying on his desk. The world outside his office door was a smear of colors and sounds. I walked out of the building and just kept walking, numb. I ended up at the park, sitting on a bench, watching people live their normal lives. I felt like a ghost. I had poured my heart, my soul, 10 years of my life into Ethelgard. And with one signature, Alex could make it all disappear. The days that followed were a blur of shock and despair. I didn't go back to the office. Alex didn't call. Not as a friend, anyway. His calls were from the CEO, leaving voicemails reminding me of my fiduciary responsibilities and the urgency of the situation. The legal letters started arriving, cold and formal, outlining the consequences of my non-compliance. He was using the very system we built together to crush me. I felt broken, defeated. The anger was there, a hot burning coal in my chest, but it was buried under an avalanche of grief. I'd lost my company, my best friend, and my future all in one afternoon. It was my wife, Sarah, who found me at my lowest. I was in my home workshop, just staring at a block of wood, unable to even pick up a tool. She didn't offer empty platitudes. She just sat with me in the silence. Then she said something that would become my mantra. "He thinks he took everything from you, Leo. But he didn't. He can't take your talent. He can't take your mind. And he can't take your will. You built Ethelgard once. You can build something again. But first, you have to remember who you are without him." She was right. Alex had taken the company, but he had forgotten what truly made it valuable. He had the brand, the clients, the infrastructure. But I had the source code. I had the creativity. I was the one who designed every single piece that made Ethelgard famous. And in a drawer in my workshop, I had the sketches, the early prototypes, the real soul of the brand, ideas we had never used, concepts too bold for the corporate direction Alex was taking. The hot coal of anger finally ignited. It wasn't a wild, destructive fire. It was a focused, determined flame. The grief hardened into resolve. He wanted to play a game? Fine, but he didn't realize he just taught me the rules. And I was about to change them. My revenge wouldn't be about destroying him physically or screaming matches. It would be smarter. It would be quieter. It would be a masterpiece. I would use the one thing he thought he owned against him. I would use my own creations. The plan began not with a bang, but with a whisper. A single perfect idea I called Project Phoenix. It would rise from the ashes of his betrayal. I knew I couldn't compete with Ethelgard directly. He had the name, the market presence. So I wouldn't compete. I would make Ethelgard irrelevant. I started in secret. My home workshop became my war room. Sarah was my only confidant, my rock. I reached out to a few key people. Our original master craftsman, Ben, who had quit when the company became too corporate, and Maria, our first and most loyal client who had always dealt directly with me. I trusted them with my life. They were disgusted by what Alex had done and agreed to help without a second thought. The plan had two parts. The first part was public. I played the defeated man. Through my lawyer, I sent a counter-proposal. I would sign over my shares and the Ethelgard name. In return, I wanted a one-time lump sum payment, a fraction of what my share was truly worth, but enough to live on. And I wanted one thing: the rights to all my old unused prototype designs and sketches, the rejects Alex had never valued. To him, it looked like I was giving up, taking a cash payout and a box of worthless old papers. He took the deal greedily, believing he had won completely. He signed the papers that severed our partnership forever, thinking he was finally free of me. What he didn't know was that he had just handed me the keys to his downfall. Those rejects were my greatest work. Designs that were too innovative, too authentic for the mass-produced direction he was taking Ethelgard. The second part of the plan was executed in the shadows. With the money from the buyout, I didn't buy a new car or go on vacation. I funded a new secret brand. We called it Veritas, Latin for truth. It was just me, Ben, and a handful of other artisans who believed in the old way of doing things. We worked for months perfecting the designs from those old sketches. We used only sustainable, rare materials. We built not just furniture, but heirlooms. Each piece had a story, a soul, and we documented every step of the process. Meanwhile, Alex's Ethelgard began to stumble. Without my creative direction, their new lines felt stale, generic. They were cutting corners on materials to boost profits, and the quality was suffering. Longtime clients were starting to notice. The soul was gone. And Alex, the brilliant numbers guy, had no idea how to get it back. The stage was set. The annual International Design and Furnishings Expo was the biggest event of the year. It was where Ethelgard had first made a name for itself. And it was where Veritas would be born. Alex's company had a massive, flashy booth in the center of the hall, all bright lights and loud music, showcasing their new, soulless collection. It was crowded, but the crowd felt corporate. There were no gasps of awe, no whispered admiration. Our booth, funded by my remaining savings and Maria's silent investment, was small and tucked away in a corner. We didn't have flashy lights. We had warm, subtle lighting that made the rich wood grains of our furniture seem to glow from within. We didn't have music. We had the quiet, confident presence of me, Ben, and our three perfect pieces. The Ethelgard recliner that Alex had rejected for being too expensive to produce, the Maxwell table he called impractical, and the centerpiece, the Phoenix desk, a stunning creation born entirely from the ashes of my betrayal. For the first few hours, people walked past. Then, one of the most respected critics in the industry, a woman known for her brutal honesty, stopped. She ran her hand over the surface of the Phoenix desk, her eyes wide. She spent 20 minutes at our booth asking questions about the wood, the joinery, the design philosophy. This is what Ethelgard used to be, she said, loud enough for others to hear. This is real craftsmanship. It was like a dam broke. A crowd gathered. People were mesmerized. They could feel the difference. The story of Veritas, of the original designer returning to his roots, spread through the convention hall like wildfire. Journalists, influencers, and high-end buyers flocked to our small corner. And then he arrived. Alex. He pushed through the crowd, his face a thundercloud of confusion and rage. He saw me. He saw the furniture. He saw the crowd. And in that moment he understood. He saw the rejects he had so carelessly signed away, transformed into the most breathtaking pieces in the entire expo. He saw the name Veritas. He saw the critic nodding in approval. He saw his own flashy, empty booth now standing deserted. Our eyes met across the crowd. There was no shouting, no dramatic confrontation. There was only a silent, devastating understanding. I hadn't tried to destroy his company with lawyers or lawsuits. I had done something far worse. I had made it obsolete. I had exposed his empire as a hollow shell. I had outcreated him. The betrayal was now complete, but the roles were reversed. He was the one standing in the dust, watching his dream fall apart. And I was the one who had built something real, something true, right from under his feet. He turned and walked away without a word, the crowd parting for him. The expression on his face wasn't one of anger anymore. It was one of utter, complete defeat. The fallout was swift and absolute. The press coverage the next day was brutal for Ethelgard. Soul sold for profit, one headline read. The Ghost in the Machine. How Ethelgard's founder was betrayed and what he built next, wrote another. The story of our partnership and his betrayal became public knowledge, fueled by the undeniable quality of Veritas. His major clients started pulling out. The Meridian Hotel chain, the deal that had been on the table the day he betrayed me, canceled their contract with Ethelgard and called me personally. They wanted Veritas. They wanted the truth. Within 6 months, Ethelgard was a ghost ship. The employees I cared about had already reached out to me, and many found a home at Veritas. Alex was forced to sell the company for pennies on the dollar to a competitor just to cover his debts. The brand we built together was effectively dead, absorbed, and erased, just as he had tried to do to me. Veritas, on the other hand, thrived. We weren't just successful. We were revered. We became a symbol of integrity and artistry in an industry flooded with mass-produced goods. I was finally building the company I had always dreamed of, one built on respect, on quality, on truth. I heard through the grapevine that Alex had moved to another state. He tried to start over, but his reputation was tarnished. The business world is small, and nobody trusts a betrayer. The brother I had known was gone, replaced by a cautionary tale. I didn't feel joy at his downfall. How could I? We had shared a dream once. Seeing it destroyed, even by his own hand, felt like a tragedy. So did I win? I got everything back in a way. I built a new company, more successful and true to my vision than Ethelgard ever was. I exposed his betrayal for the world to see. I got my justice, but I lost my best friend, and you can't put a price on that. The victory, when it came, tasted bittersweet. There's a hollow space where that friendship used to be, a space that success and money can never fill. I sometimes wonder if there was a different path, a moment where I could have seen the crack and fixed it before the whole foundation gave way. But I know deep down that the man who betrayed me in that office wasn't the boy from the treehouse. That man was gone long before I walked through his door that day. My revenge wasn't about hurting him. It was about reclaiming myself. He thought he could take my creation and strip my name from it. So I created something even more powerful. I used the very talent he tried to steal, and I built a monument with it. A monument that proved he was wrong. That you can't kill a real dream. You can only scatter its seeds. And from those seeds, something stronger will grow. The treehouse pact was broken, but a new promise was made. To myself, to my family, to my work. The promise to never let business compromise my integrity. To never value profit over people. To always remember that the true value of what you build isn't in the bank account, but in the legacy you leave behind. About a year after Veritas was established, a letter arrived at my studio. No return address. The handwriting was familiar. It was Alex's. My heart hammered in my chest. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity, or maybe closure, got the better of me. It was short. Leo, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and you have every right not to. I'm not writing to make excuses. There are none. I was greedy. I was arrogant. I saw the company as a thing to be won, and I forgot that it was built by two friends. Seeing what you built with Veritas, it was a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw reflected. You were always the heart of Ethelgard. I was just the calculator. I thought I could be both, but I was wrong. I lost my way. I lost my best friend, and I lost everything we built. I have to live with that every day. I'm sorry for all of it. I hope you can be happy. You deserve it. Alex, I read it once. Then I folded it and put it in a drawer. I didn't write back. What was there to say? I forgive you? I'm not sure I do, not fully. It's okay. It will never be okay. But the anger, the all-consuming fire that fueled Project Phoenix, it was gone. Replaced by a quiet, profound sadness. And maybe, just maybe, a sliver of peace. The revenge was complete. The betrayer was exposed. The creator was restored. But life isn't a movie. The credits don't roll when the villain falls. You have to keep living. You have to build from the rubble. And sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction. It's simply choosing to build again, better and truer than before. And that is a truth that can never be stolen. Sound of a single piece of wood being gently sanded, fading to silence.